Hello there, Live at Fivers. It's Peter McLaughlin with Friday Live at 5, Blue Sky Hypnosis. I am a hypnotist and a life coach. Today we're going to be talking about manifesting your dreams. And before we get into all that, I just want to encourage you to make sure that you add your comments to the comments section. Get involved, ask questions, make comments. And also, I'm really interested to find out for the people who are on this call. Oh boy. Well, it looks like I got another technical thing going on here. Let me know if you're able to see and hear me. Please, somebody on the call, let me know if you're able to see and hear me so I'm not just talking into a dead camera. My other camera looks like it just kind of seized up on me. If anybody's able to see me, hear me, please let me know. Yes, okay, cool. I can see and hear you. Fantastic. I don't know what happened at my end. So let me know what you're interested in manifesting. If it's you want to manifest a new relationship, let me know. If you have an existing relationship, but it's not exactly the way you want it, you're struggling, you're having trouble, let me know that too. If it's that you want to manifest something that deals with abundance, it could be money, or it could be the derivatives of the money, what money can buy, like a new car or a new house or apartment. Or a new job. Let me know that too. If it's health, if it has to do with health, let me know that, like a slim, healthy body, or if you've got some kind of illness or disease and you want your body to be healthy and free of disease again. If you want to look younger, let me know all of these things. That would be very helpful to understand. So the first thing I want to talk about is what is manifesting? And I think the simplest way to describe this is bringing something from the non-physical realm, let's call it an idea or a thought, into its physical equivalent. And everything in the world, it is said, has to be created twice. Once it has to be created in the mind of the creator, and then secondly, it is created in its physical form. So one of the examples that I love is the example of a composer, a musical composer. That music actually exists when it's simply inside the head of the composer, when the composer can hear the melody in his or her head. It's not when it's written down on a piece of paper on sheet music, and it's not when it's played on a piano or it's played, on a recording device. It's actually created in the mind. So I think that this is really important for us to understand this, that the ancient wisdom on this is true, that all is mind, everything is mind. And this means that we can use our minds to create what we want. Now, I would say for sure that manifesting involves a specific thought or idea. And it could be something that you're visualizing, but in the case of the composer, it could be something maybe that you hear, like you want to have children. And so for you may be an auditory person. And instead of primarily visualizing these future children, you might be hearing their voices. You might be hearing the voices of children playing or children laughing. And that may be how you connect to that specificity that I'm talking about. So there must be a specific thought or a sound or a visualization of some kind. And then added on to that, it is said that this is the rocket fuel of manifestation, is an emotion. So if you're wanting to have kids and you close your eyes and you can see these children in the future, which to the subconscious mind is right now, like you already have them, or you can hear them, that may bring an emotion into your body. And the more you can experience that emotion, it might be tears of joy, it might be feelings of happiness in the inside, or wholeness or fullness or some other powerful emotion. That emotion provides the rocket fuel for that specific thought, visualization, sound, etc. And then the third thing, I think, is action. So we are all creators in this lifetime. We are not, in my view, victims, and we are not designed to be bystanders. So I think some action must be taken. So if you wanted to meet your perfect partner, your lifetime romantic partner, could it happen with you sitting in your home and never leaving? Yeah, it could happen. But I think we could all agree that if you added these steps, so you have the visualization or the sound or the kinesthetic feeling of touching this person with the emotions that go along with it, and then if you add in the action, like getting out in the world, I think what happens at that point is that your powerful subconscious mind is now, in essence, attuned to the same frequency of that which you are manifesting. Your eyes, which can take in probably millions of bits of data every, minute or so that you're out in the world, all of these different things that are coming at you, and your conscious mind can really only focus on a handful of them. What's being missed? Well, what's being missed is what you're not programming yourself to connect to. And I think that has to do with that frequency vibration that I was talking about. So if you're fixated on a particular kind of person and you've got the emotion behind it, and you're doing this practice, you're doing this work where you go into a meditative state, or you go into a hypnotic state, or you're repeating mantras over and over again, and you're seeing and feeling and hearing in your mind's eye this person, then when you're out in the world, you've basically programmed your instruments, your ears and your eyes in particular, to pick that one aspect out of a field of possibilities that could and definitely would rate into the millions and maybe hundreds of millions as you multiply the time that you're out in the world and things are going all around you. I mean, if you've ever been at, say, a rock concert or at a sporting event where there are tens of thousands of people, the people kind of often fade into a mass because there's so many, and our minds are not wired or programmed to connect with each person's face. But let's say there's a famous person in that audience. It might be something where you're able to lock on to that one person. And I think that that's part of what's happening with manifesting. And I'm using this example of a perfect romantic partner because a lot of people want that. But we want to have you align energetically with that person. That's the goal. So if you have a string of unsuccessful, unhappy relationships and you want something different, that different relationship is going to be vibrating at a higher frequency. In order for you to connect and manifest with that person, you have to raise yourself up to be that perfect match for that different kind of relationship. All right, let's see who's here and if there are questions that people might have. Okay, going back to the beginning. Martine Massey, it's good to see you. Heather Marney, welcome. Tomcat, thank you for letting me know that you could see and hear. Elizabeth Markle, good to see you again. Joyce Shaw, good to see you too. See if there are any questions here. TNT is saying a new relationship after a narcissistic relationship. Okay, that's really good to know. So let's talk about that for a moment. And it would be interesting to know if this is the first relationship of this kind, this first kind of unsatisfactory relationship, or if this has been a pattern. Because my deep belief, especially with relationships, is that like everything in life, we are choosing unconsciously what we want. So when you're choosing a dress to buy, when you're choosing a car, when you're choosing a house, ultimately these choices are emotional choices that later we layer in the emotional reasons what we layer in the sort of intellectual reasons why we chose that house, why we chose that dress, why we chose that car. But the actual decision to buy that, to go on that date, to make this person your husband or your wife, for example, is going to come from a deep emotional well. And that has everything to do with your past. And human beings tend to gravitate towards what's familiar and what's comfortable. We tend to gravitate towards what we think we deserve, even if consciously we want something else. And people can get themselves oftentimes into these traps where they want A, but they don't think they deserve A, so they settle for X. Because often when we're younger, we are told, or we learn, or we infer that we are not good enough. So in order to manifest this relationship, which is decidedly, distinctly, entirely different from this one that you're talking about now, this narcissistic relationship, I say something on the inside has to change. And this gets into what I wrote about in the show notes, which is the law of correspondence. It's an ancient practice or an ancient concept that means, or it's stated as above, so below, as within, so without. So if you have something that's not good, you're not happy with in your external life, like a relationship, the law of correspondence states that's because you have the same thing or something similar on the inside. And so like attracts like, and in this unconscious emotional way of making choices, you chose this person based on something that's already going on inside of you. And I know that this is difficult or can be difficult to understand, but I think we all see it in our friends and in our acquaintances. I certainly see it in my practice working with people one-on-one, that people will say to me that they've had multiple relationships where they were, for example, cheated upon, multiple relationships that could be abusive, multiple relationships with people who abused drugs, multiple relationships, for example, where the person left them. It just keeps happening over and over and over again. And it becomes clearer and clearer that this just isn't random. It isn't the luck of the draw. It isn't that the person deceived them at the front end. It is more of what I'm saying about the law of correspondence. Something inside of that person is vibrating at the same frequency as this same person, if you will, with different faces, that they continue attracting to them. All right, let's see if there are some questions or comments here. Nancy Hoover, recovering from surgery. Nancy, I don't know if you know this, but on my YouTube channel, I have a track that helps you recover from surgery. I won't go too deeply into this, but the studies show that people who use this sort of thing recover about 20% faster than people who don't. So if you go onto my YouTube channel, Blue Sky Hypnosis, type in surgery, searching my channel, you should be able to find that. TNT is saying, I've been working on myself for almost 18 months now. I've been in therapy. That's great. I'm so glad to hear that. And I would love to know what's going on deeper inside of you that got you into a relationship like that. The good news about this, I said earlier in this broadcast that manifesting has everything to do with creativity, turning something that is just an energy, a thought or an idea into its physical reality. When we do this, it means that we are kind of creators too. And so if we can create something that is unpleasant, if we can create something that ultimately we don't want, it also means that using our mind, we can create something we do want, that we have the power to do that we're not helpless waiting on other people to give us what we want, that we have that ability to change. And when we change, it changes what we are unconsciously drawn to. All right. Heather Marney is saying, health. Okay, I ended up having congestive heart failure in August. Oh, wow, I'm so sorry. I am slowly recuperating. I have changed my diet, exercise, and a few other things, and I'm doing much better, and I'm hoping to continue. All right then. So we know for sure that stress kills people. We know that. And it does this in part based upon the mechanism of the autonomic nervous system. So your autonomic nervous system, that which automatically runs everything about your body, is either, it's only two modes, it's either in fight or flight or rest and digest. When it's in fight or flight, your body's major systems, including your immune system and your digestive system and your reproductive system and your endocrine system, send energy into your muscles so that you can run or fight. It's designed for a physical threat. In modern life, we have stress all around us by looking at social media and seeing how great everybody's doing and we're not. With bills that are coming in, with, back to social media, with comparison. There are all of these different ways that we can feel tremendous amounts of stress, not the least of which is being able to access calamities and catastrophes on our devices 24/7. That simply wasn't possible before high-speed communication. So in my view, and I'm not a doctor, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, do your own research. In order to be as healthy as possible, we have to reduce stress. I don't think there's much disagreement around this. The next question is, how do you do that? Well, one of the most effective ways of doing this is by changing your brain state. So we're all walking around in a beta state of consciousness. That's a particular frequency that the brain is operating in when we're doing waking, daily, kind of everyday tasks. When you move into an alpha state, and this could be achieved with mindfulness, this can be achieved with meditation, this can be achieved with hypnosis, your autonomic nervous system moves from the fight or flight response to the rest and digest response. This is enormously healing for us, is getting your mind, because your body will follow, to move into that rest and digest state of the autonomic nervous system on a routine, regular basis. So lots of people like to have some kind of practice that they do every day. And Heather, with what's going on for you, I would think that in addition to what your doctor's telling you to do, that building some kind of a practice like this that really works for you would be of vital importance. And perhaps it's something that you do multiple times during the day. Now, I have all kinds of free stuff on my YouTube channel, Blue Sky Hypnosis, that will guide you into that state, and then it will deliver the hypnotic suggestions for the outcome that you want. So if it's losing weight, you can do that. If it's just relaxing, you can do that. If it's sleeping better, you can do that. So that's a whole series of tools, if you will, if you want to go in that road. For other people, they might want to do yoga, and while they're doing yoga, they're in a state of mindfulness. Or other people, it's just meditation, just kind of clearing their mind. Whatever you choose, this is a really powerful tool to help you achieve the kind of health that you want and need to achieve in your life. So thank you for sharing that with us. Really appreciate it. My Dai says, I would like to manifest health and a good life, joy, be able to adopt a dog saved from a shelter, and to meet the right man for me. Hi from Italy. Well, hi to you too. Okay, so health seems like a really good place to start for me. And I think, like anything else in life, being able to focus on something means that we multiply our capabilities. We multiply our intelligence, we multiply our concentration, we multiply our energy. So I could imagine that starting with health might be a really good idea. And for most people, health has to do with, I was talking to Heather about their mental and emotional state. It often starts with that. Are they stressed out? Are they calm? It then moves into physical exercise. Are you moving your body? Are you sleeping well at night? Then it moves into diet. Are you eating good food? And one of the questions that, it's not my original idea, but they're really good questions to ask, is you ask someone and you can ask yourself, what do you want? Why do you want it? How badly do you want it? And most importantly, what are you willing to do to get it? So if you want good health, you ask yourself, okay, it should seem obvious, I guess, but different people want this for different reasons. Why do I want good health? Is it so that perhaps I can attract the man of my dreams? Is it so that I feel good in my clothes? Is it so that I can do certain kinds of physical activities that I struggle with right now? Is it so that I can live longer and spend time with loved ones off into the future? Is it so I can travel? Is it so I can do a certain kind of job? You get the idea, right? The more specific you can be with yourself of what it is that that you want, so health, and then why you want it. The why can supply the rocket fuel. So in the morning, when you have planned to get up and go to the gym, or you've planned to get up and go for a nice long walk through your neighborhood, but you're feeling a little bit tired and you're feeling like maybe you don't want to do it today. The rocket fuel of knowing why you're doing this can help you take that first step, help you overcome some of these obstacles. And in terms of manifesting, this is also really important too, which is being very specific. So of those things that you mentioned your health, you mentioned adopting a dog from a shelter, and you mentioned meeting the right man. Of those things, maybe it isn't health that's the most important. Maybe it's the dog. Maybe it's something else. This is where you can get super specific in your mind. You can get quiet. In fact, you can double up on what I was talking to Heather Marney about. I was talking about how healthy it is to be in a meditative state or a hypnotic state where you're achieving a kind of alpha level of brain waves. That's the lightest level of hypnotic trance that you can also achieve in meditation. When you're in that state, your deeper mind, your subconscious mind, the powerhouse of your mind opens up. And when this deeper part of your mind opens up, it's now receptive to what you're feeding it. So you're in this state, the state is already super healthy for you. And while you're in this state, you program yourself. That's how I would describe manifesting, is that you're programming yourself for what you want. And one of the tips, one of the tricks of this is that you do this in a way that tells your subconscious mind you already have it. Why do you do this? Because if you essentially say, believe, think, visualize that you want something you don't already have, it creates a sense of lack. If you visualize, if you imagine, if you think, if you repeat to yourself you already have it, you now will become an energetic match for that thing, whatever it is, and like attracts like. So if I really want to adopt a dog from a shelter, and I really would like to do that actually, my dog passed away in July, as many of you know, then imagining in my mind's eye, in this state with this alpha trance, whether you call it meditation or self-hypnosis, I imagine being with this dog. And the more specific I can make it, the better. So it's a golden retriever, or in my case, it's a yellow lab. And I can imagine that I'm patting his head, I'm patting his fur. And maybe I imagine what his name is. And I imagine him, licking the side of my face. And as I do this, right, that it's happening right now, my subconscious mind does not know the difference between this dog is really here with me right now, and I'm patting his head and he's licking my face, and it's something that I'm imagining. Subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what we call reality and what we call fiction. This is why when you go to a movie and there's an exciting scene that's happening, your heart starts pounding rapidly and your muscles get tight. So as you do this, the emotions are going to start to kick in of what it feels like to be with this dog. You're going to feel the feelings of love, the feelings of affection, the feelings of bonding, and you're making it more and more real for this part of your mind. And I believe then, when you go out into the world after you've done this for a certain amount of time, you're going to draw to you a situation or a circumstance where the very same or similar dog becomes available. And you're training and programming your mind to pick that dog out of all of the millions of things that your eye can see when you're just looking from left to right or up and down. And you're creating this possibility. I mean, we live in a primarily energetic universe. So before this broadcast, I just wanted to look up and say, okay, what percentage of the universe is matter versus what percentage of the universe is energy? And they started getting into things like dark matter and dark energy. And I'm not sure that people actually know what dark matter and dark energy is. But for the most part, my understanding is the vast majority of the universe is energetic. And that even the atom, down to the smallest component of matter, the atom, that it's mostly space inside of the atom. And that our real power as human beings is not our physical strength. It's not our five senses. Animals have stronger senses of smell, for example, and sight than we do. Our great power as human beings, I would say, is creativity. We can imagine something that doesn't yet exist on the physical plane, and we can bring it into existence. And every time I think about this, I just keep thinking about the pyramids in Egypt. Oh my God, what an amazing construction. We still don't understand how these things were built with the tools that were available at the time. And yet, some human being or a group of human beings were able to conceive of these structures and then bring them into physical reality. That's what you can do with this dog, with your physical health, and with this perfect man for you. All right, let's see who else is here and what other things people have to say. Martine Massey says, just to be able to enjoy life. Okay, Martine, so going on the theme of specificity, what would it take for you to be able to enjoy life? And it almost sounds like from your language, by using the word just, it almost sounds, you correct me if I'm wrong, it almost sounds like, I just want a little bit. I just want a little bit of life enjoyment. Is that too much to ask? So let me know. What does it mean for you to be able to enjoy life? Because here's the thing. One of the bullet points that I had was, what blocks us from manifesting what we want? It's our programming. We are taught to fixate by our culture on what we don't want. And we're taught to downplay what we already have that's really great. Or to not ask for things that are too much or unrealistic, right? One of the places that this always shows up, or I've noticed this in my lifetime, is with sports. So when people, for example, are playing golf, and they hit a really good shot right down the middle, goes a long way, and the other golfers say, hey, great shot, Norm. It was like, yep, okay, thank you, appreciate it. And they're kind of pushing it down, they're kind of downplaying it. When the golfer hits a really crappy shot, usually the golfer himself will have some kind of major emotional, or not always, but often can have a major emotional reaction, like slamming the club on the ground, or yelling an expletive out into the world, or just getting an angry face and kind of stomping off the tee box, or in extreme cases, throwing the club or breaking the club over their knee. What are they doing subconsciously here? They are adding that rocket fuel of emotion to what just happened that they don't want. And it's like taking a yellow highlighter pen and saying to the subconscious mind, pay attention to this. Let's have more of this. And when something really good happens, it's like, no, I just got to push that out. Yep, thanks very much. Okay. Move on, because I don't want to be conceited, or I don't want to be full of myself, or whatever. It should be the other way around. We should be emphasizing, putting the emotion behind what we really want, and downplaying the other stuff. You know, studies show that people who are super successful identify with their successes, and they distance themselves linguistically and emotionally from their failures. So this is an opportunity to really decide for yourself. What does it mean? What do you want to really enjoy your life specifically? And then put yourself in your mind, in a hypnotic state, in a meditative state, in a state of daydreaming, let's call it, where you really identify with this life, living in this beautiful villa, driving this gorgeous car, having your bank account overflowing with money, having your body being fit and trim and strong and beautiful, and feel what that's like, and then reproduce that over and over and over again. And then I say you start taking action in that direction. Okay, thank you for that. Just scrolling down here. Here's Fiordalisa. It's good to see you. Welcome. And English Rose. I'm glad to see you here too. Here TNT is saying that, I'm not sure if his or her, but relationships for TNT have been a pattern of major infidelity. Okay, so I think we could say that we manifest everything. We manifest the good and we manifest the bad. And this is happening largely at the subconscious level based upon what we think we deserve, what we're comfortable and familiar with, what we focus on, and where the energy flows around that focus. So in my practice, working one-on-one with people, what I have discovered over the 17 years I've been doing this work is when there is a pattern of infidelity, what I've noticed is that the person who's getting cheated on has inside of them already, at the subconscious level, feelings of low self-esteem, low self-worth, and low self-love. And that we are constantly broadcasting to the world how we really feel about ourselves, other people, and the situations and circumstances that we're in. And we broadcast this non-verbally. We broadcast this through our body language, and we broadcast this through the tone and the timbre and the cadence and the pitch and the volume and the silence, et cetera, of our voices. Think about how actors engage in their craft. They're able to take any sentence and change the meaning around that sentence by changing their body language and changing their voice. They can say, "Have a nice day," in a very sarcastic, cutting and biting way. They can say, "Have a nice day," in a very sweet and earnest way, and everything in between. This is what we're all doing all the time, but we're doing it unconsciously. And so if a person is holding on to low self-worth or low self-esteem, they're broadcasting that to the world, including their partners. And I'm not defending the partners. I'm not defending the people who are committing infidelity or cheating. Not at all. But there's something at the front end that is drawing you to that person out of many people. There is something that is drawing them to you. And then in the relationship, there's something else that's happening that in my experience, is based around the low self-esteem. Remember the dictum, as within, so without, as above, so below, the law of correspondence. If you continue having the same unpleasant experience on the outside, the law of correspondence says there's something on the inside that is creating that. And I'm saying in my experience, that is low self-esteem. That part of your mind is saying, this person feels like home. You know, that I'm vibrating at the same frequency as this person. And that this is what I feel comfortable with. This is what I deserve on some level. And the good news is that it's within our power as human beings, each one of us, to change that underlying program, to raise that frequency on the inside so that we have a different experience on the outside. So thank you for listening to what I had to say here. And if there's anything else, any questions you want to ask as a follow-up, please feel free. But thanks for sharing. English Rose says, abundance for me and my family and new relationship. Okay, fantastic. So in that spirit of specificity, What kind of abundance? Is this financial abundance? Is this abundance of rich friendships? Is this abundant, vibrant physical health? Is it money in the bank? Is it abundance in terms of lots of organic food and the ability to have the food that you want, or coming from your own garden? So getting really specific about the abundance piece, I think, is super important. And then when you talk about a new relationship, what is that? How is that different, if it is different, than the old relationship or the old relationships plural? And how will you feel when you're with this new person, when you're in this new relationship? What's the feeling it's going to create in your body? What's it going to bring into your life that you feel perhaps that you don't have right now? And I think that this is another secret, which is to create the feelings that you want, that feel like they're in the future, by having your bank filled with money, by living in this beautiful house, by living on the beach, by having a healthy, fit, trim body, whatever it is, by having the new relationship. That when you go into your creative studio, which is in between your temples and behind your eyes, when you go into this creative studio like a potter to fashion the vase, the cup, the glasses, the statues, the sculptures, when you go there to fashion these things, you're creating the feelings that you want. And when you have those feelings that you want and you hold them, that's when you become a match for the exact same thing on the outside, and bang, it happens. And I guess, and some of you have probably heard me say this before, our culture teaches us that if I want to feel smart, then I should go get a PhD. If I want to feel desired, then I should find some, person to desire me. When really, it's the other way around. When I create the feelings that I desire as a present reality, then everything that matches that floats into my life. I recognize it. I feel like I am worthy of it because I've already created the feeling inside of me. Why wouldn't I be worthy of it? There's an athlete, the only athlete that I have heard publicly talk about this phenomenon, this manifesting phenomenon, the power of attraction phenomenon, is the UFC fighter Conor McGregor. And when they win their, the big title, they get this big belt, this kind of metallic looking belt that says, they're the world champion. And a reporter asked Conor McGregor, when he first physically put on this belt, how does it feel to be wearing the championship belt? And for the first time ever, hearing an athlete say this blew me away. He said, "Oh, I've worn it thousands of times already. I started wearing it when I was 16 years old, living in a slum in Dublin." He understood that to be a match for what he desired, he had to create it in that art room, in that room of creativity in his mind. He had to feel it inside of his body and repeat it over and over and over and over and over again. And not just that, but he also took action. He didn't sit in his parents' basement watching, playing video games and watching porn. He went to the gym and he worked out, he trained, he fought. He got on a very specific kind of diet. And I'm going to say, and I don't know Conor McGregor, but because he could feel like he already had it. All these other things, the mechanism to attain it, became easier to engage in. Became less likely to say, oh, I don't want to do that today. I feel whatever. Because he knew it was coming. And it was really important to him. And he loved the feeling. And then that feeling inside of him ultimately became its physical match on the outside. Even with something as remarkable as having to fight all of these different people to get awarded the belt. And the belt itself, when the belt actually came, I'm sure it was satisfying, but it wasn't like, oh, now I get to feel good about myself. You know, now I have the permission to be, feeling like I'm on top of the world. No. He had felt on top of the world, in his words, thousands of times since the age of 16, growing up in a slum in Dublin, Ireland. All right. Let's see if there's another question here, a comment. Wendy Morales. Wendy says, since I've been doing hypnosis with your videos on your channel, it's so easy for me. Example of this is how I have changed my body with exercise. My body is responding so well as if a door has been opened. This is phenomenal. Let me see if I can give you a round of applause here. That is fantastic, Wendy. I mean, that is so exciting that you spent the time, call it in the gym of your mind, working your mind out, training your mind for the desired outcome. And then it sounds like you were able, and I just want to put this back up here, with exercise, change my body with exercise. So you laid down the blueprint, or you laid down the schematic, or whatever you want to call it, in your mind. And that powerful subconscious mind, it's so enormously powerful, and it controls all aspects of your body, again, through the autonomic nervous system, that it sounds like it was almost like following a predetermined plan that you had laid out in your mind by listening to those videos. So when you went to the gym, it was like, oh, I'm here and I'm just following through on where my mind already is. That is so exciting. And the part about your comment that I really resonate with is you said, my body is responding so well as if a door has been opened. That's exactly what's happened. Is, again, in order to create anything, it has to be created twice. It has to be created in the mind and perhaps in the emotions. But let's say in the mind that the emotions are the rocket fuel that push it forward before it can be created on the outside. That's so cool. Congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's super inspiring. TNT, who was talking about a pattern of infidelity, is saying, yes, I didn't think I deserved happiness. This is about relationships, because of disappointing my mom after getting pregnant at 16. Mom never was disappointed. I just felt she was. And then goes on to say, I didn't feel worthy of true happiness. With manifesting, the subconscious mind has often been described by people. It's done in that movie, The Secret. I don't know if you guys are still familiar with this, but this was something that came out like 20-something years ago about the law of attraction. And in that documentary film, the subconscious mind is described as the genie, like in Aladdin's lamp. You know, you rub the lamp and the genie, poof, comes out and says, oh, you've got 3 wishes. And you literally can wish for anything. You could wish for calamity. You could wish for prosperity. You could wish for health. You could wish for relationships. You could wish for gold. You could wish for the dog from the shelter. You could wish for anything. The only difference is that with your subconscious mind, there's no limit to the number of wishes. So in essence, if you don't believe you're worthy of something, in essence, it's kind of like saying to the genie that you want somebody who's going to be unfaithful to you, because that's what you feel like you deserve. You don't feel like you deserve a happy life, which is obviously an illusion. It's obviously not real, but we're such powerful creators that we have this capability of doing even that. So hopefully you are able to understand that the solution here is not outside of you. It's not finding the quote unquote right person and then you'll feel the way you want to feel. We have to change the way you feel about yourself now. And I would say, in your case, this would involve not just the classic aspects of manifestation that we've been talking about today, which is going into that light alpha trance, whether you do it through meditation or self-hypnosis or repetition, and then imagining, sensing, feeling, smelling, whatever senses you can bring into it, that this is already your current reality. For you, this would go deeper than that. This would go to returning back to being 16 years old and clearing up or healing that earlier, frankly, trauma of getting pregnant and feeling like you were a disappointment to your mom, feeling like maybe you were a disappointment to yourself, or whatever your mind created at that moment that was negative about you. And using forgiveness, using a way of interacting. Let's say, I'm just going to say, you're 35 now, or you're 40 years old, where the older you interacts with the younger you and helps the younger you understand that just because she got pregnant doesn't mean she's a bad person. It doesn't mean that she no longer deserves all the beautiful things that life has to offer. That if she feels she needs to apologize and forgive herself, she can apologize and forgive herself. That experience maybe helped you grow in other ways, and that the 16-year-old should know that. And when that incident is healed, and when that 16-year-old version of you, that energetic being, if you will, can integrate with the older you, then you no longer have that incident. And the meaning that you attach to it, that your mom, you said, didn't attach to it, pulling you down like an anchor dragging behind your ship and making it really hard for you to sail to where you want to go. And I suppose this brings up for me this simplified two-tier approach that I always work with when working with my clients. And one side is relieving them of the belief systems from the past. The essentially, I'm not good enough belief system that's dragging them and pulling them away from what they want. And then at the same time, helping them program their powerful subconscious mind for what they do want. So hopefully that makes sense. And thanks for sharing that, TNT. 30-Day Jeff says, I must have some messed up past lives as far as relationships go, because it stinks in this one so far. Lots and lots of failed ones. Okay, so the other way I like to think about working with people, and switch this camera angle, is if I were a mechanic and you brought your car into me and smoke was coming out of the engine. The smoke is not the problem. The smoke is just an indication, a symptom of something deeper that is the problem. So a string of what you're calling failed relationships would be like the smoke coming out of the engine of the car. This would be the symptom that you're struggling with, but it's not, I'm going to say, it's not the problem. The problem is something deeper in your mind. And could it be a past lifetime, as you suggest? Yeah, it could be. That could have created something that you did or was done to you in a past lifetime, could have created the mental programming that equates to, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve. Or it could have been something in your present lifetime. Or it could have been both. But in either case, like a car mechanic, we would want to trace the symptoms that you've had in this life to its origin, to its root cause. Resolve that trauma at its root cause to help shift and change that belief. And at the same time, we would have you moving into what we're talking about with manifesting, which is, okay, here is, and you said your name is Jeff, and I'm just going to assume, maybe this is wrong, but for illustration purposes, I'm going to assume that it's this perfect, your perfect partner, let's say as a female, and that you can imagine everything about her. You can imagine her smiling at you and how you feel in the inside when she smiles at you. And you can imagine kissing her lips, and you can imagine her scent or her fragrance or something. And you can imagine holding her hand and running through a field and laughing and smiling and doing all of those things. And I say these ultimately need to get paired together. For everyone, probably not. But for a lot of us who've had, as you say, if you've had a string of difficulties where the same thing keeps happening, it means something really powerful from the past is pulling you in the opposite direction. And that has to get released so that the other half of this process of manifesting can actually work. Otherwise, it's like putting seeds, potential, on asphalt. It's not going to grow there. And I would say, one of my other bullet points was what are the reasons that manifestation doesn't work? Well, the primary one is that the person fundamentally at a deep subconscious level doesn't feel they deserve what they want. And we live in a free will universe. And if somebody consciously or unconsciously believes that they're worthy of something that is not pleasant, there's no force in the universe that can prevent them from pursuing that in a sense. And I'm not saying you're pursuing it consciously. I want to make that really clear. This is an unconscious impulse pulling you in a particular direction. So hopefully that was clear. And let me know if it wasn't, or if there's any clarification that I can add there. But thanks for your comment, 30 Day. Midnight says, in order to manifest, it is important to be able to visualize. Create a vivid mental image with a question mark. I don't believe that's true. So every human being has a primary way of interacting with the physical world. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. If you try to force someone who is kinesthetic to conform to a visual paradigm, it will not work. It will be struggle, struggle, struggle for that person. And we see this in public school systems, which were designed by visual people, where visual people tend to thrive and kinesthetic people tend to struggle. When they send the kinesthetic person to a vocational technical institute, they generally do pretty well because that's good for kinesthetic people. So visualization per se is powerful, but not if the person is not visual. Then they'll just struggle with it. Like, I can't visualize, it's not working for me, blah, 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 blah. Well, if that's a kinesthetic or an auditory person, I believe that person should be focusing on what their strength is. Focusing on the auditory for auditory, obviously kinesthetic for kinesthetic. And let the other elements come in secondarily. So when I do my daily meditation, I'm primarily auditory. When I go to meet with my guides and so forth, I don't try to focus on what they look like. I just focus on the sounds because I can hear them. And I usually visualize things in a sort of a vague way. That's fine. There's no problem there. Every so often, something visual gets super crisp, but it always happens with the auditory coming first. So there's so many people, I think, that try something like this. They think they're supposed to visualize. They're not able to visualize, and then they quit. And I think part of the reason for that is that those people may not be primarily visually oriented. They may be primarily auditory or kinesthetic, and that is where they should start. And if you don't know what you are, one of the simplest ways of doing it is thinking, instead of, I've got to visualize this, think, I want to make this feeling real. So, for example, my dog, I said, passed in July, Sam. And I meet with him now every day in my own self-hypnosis meditative practice. And when I meet with him, to make it real, I imagine patting him, kinesthetic. I imagine him licking my face, kinesthetic. I imagine seeing him. And sometimes I see him exactly as he was, and sometimes I see him a little bit differently. I imagine auditory, the sound of him panting, or this little sort of noise that he would make when I would come home and he was all excited to see me. So just think, make it real, which would be all of your senses. Just let them be what they want to be. And if some are not coming through in a big way, that's okay. You're just making it real. Hopefully that makes sense to you. But great question, and it really helped me in terms of being able to describe this phenomenon. My Die says, "Hi Peter, you were great." Well, thank you. You're great too. "I was able to lose weight only when I let go of all the pain I had." Yes. "But now I am 52 and suffering from, I'm going to say that's arthritis. How can I get rid of it?" All right. Well, the first thing, as a responsible member of this community, is to make sure that you check with your medical doctor, that you're doing everything from that physical standpoint, because that's what we say in our culture is the responsible thing to do. From a psychological and an emotional standpoint, I would encourage you to learn how to use a pendulum. On my YouTube channel, I have videos that teach people how to use a pendulum. There was one that I created very recently on something called havening. It's the most recent video that I've made. If you go there, it actually teaches you how to use a pendulum. The pendulum is just an ideomotor tool that helps us understand what's going on in your subconscious mind. And once you understand how to use a pendulum and you've calibrated it and it's working in a way that you can get a reliable yes, no, and maybe, you can ask your deeper mind. And you can ask this question. You can say, is there an emotional causation behind the arthritis? Was the arthritis created as a result of an emotional trauma? If I heal this emotional trauma, will the arthritis get better? Is there anything blocking me from healing this emotional trauma from my past? Because I think ideally you're going to look at this from both the physical aspect that the doctor hopefully will help you do, or a naturopath or something. And you're also going to look at this from an emotional standpoint. And you're going to want to make sure that you're getting the right nutrients through your diet, or maybe you need to have some kind of supplementation. Make sure that you're doing appropriate exercises for you, because one of the new things that people are starting to realize is that the body is meant to be used, and if you don't use it, you lose it. And one of the ways of healing your body is through moving it in appropriate ways. And there are people who can coach you through all of this. My daughter she's an athlete, she was able to heal her knee pain by doing a very unusual kind of exercise, something that isn't really being taught by the schools. And it's called knees over toes. And I'm not advocating you do this, but I would advocate that you look into it. There's a guy on YouTube, Ben Patrick, and he has a channel called the Knees Over Toes Guy. And he healed his knee pain and knee problems by doing these exercises. My daughter was able to do it too, and she's a very high-level athlete. There's a lot of wisdom out there that you can explore, because I feel like there's no problem on the planet that doesn't have a solution. But there are silos that you can get yourself into that don't have solutions. And everything you try inside of that silo, nothing works. Well, the solution must be outside of that silo. And largely speaking, I say you look at this from a physical standpoint. So that's, how are you moving your body? What are you taking into your body? Are there toxins already in your body? And do this with people who can help you. And then there's also the emotional part. Is there an emotional component to this, or are they both working together? So I hope that's a satisfactory answer, but I appreciate your asking it. All righty. Laura says, "I am so sad I missed the beginning of the live stream." Well, Laura, I don't think you actually missed too much, because there was probably about, 60 seconds of me with one of my technical problems where my camera looked like at my end it had frozen, but I don't think it looked like it had frozen at other people's ends. So if you go back to the beginning, which you can do because this is going to be recorded and captured, just skip past the first 60 seconds. All right. Good to have you here now, though. Katie Johnson is saying, "Hi, Katie. My most requested video. Is it true that what we resist persists. Is it important to feel the feels before releasing, to find connection with those we want to connect with in real life? Okay, so let's take it. Is it true that what we resist persists? Yes, absolutely, 100%. We get whatever we focus upon. So if you're driving your car, and on the way home driving your car, you keep thinking, I hope I don't get into a car accident. That would be really bad. You imagine the sound of the screeching tires and the two cars slamming together and the sound of the glass breaking. You imagine the airbags going off and, on and on and on. You're going to be more likely to manifest that experience. Why? Because you flooded your mind with it. You created a powerful emotion behind it. Does it mean it will definitely happen? No. But you have tipped the scales in that sense. So what you resist is something that you're focusing on, something that you're applying a significant amount of emotion to, and maybe even visualizing it. A man who is afraid that his wife or his girlfriend is going to cheat on him is now, in a sense, resisting that. He's fixated on it. He is flooding his mind with really unwanted images and with the emotion that goes behind it. This is also going to change his behavior. It's going to cause him to look over her shoulder and say, "Who were you just texting? It seemed like you were on that phone call for a long time. Where were you last night? How come you came home 15 minutes late? I saw the way you looked at the guy at the bar." That's going to cause her to back off. And in a sense, he's creating what he doesn't want. So yeah, absolutely. What you resist persists. And I would say specifically because whatever you resist, you're feeding it. You're feeding it with your attention. You're feeding it with your emotion. And whatever you feed, you get more of. Alrighty. And then there was another part to your question here too. And that was, is it important to feel the feels before releasing, to find connection with those we want to connect with in real life? So I'm not sure if I completely understand this, but I'm just going to take it this way. So when I work with people and they're releasing something, let's say it's releasing pain from the past, that yes, I bring them in a structured, controlled way back into the thing that produced, call it the trauma, that produced the negative programming in the first place. They're going to feel some of that. I mean, they're going to know they're not actually back in there, but the tears are going to come. They may feel tension in their body. They may feel a pit in their stomach. You get the idea. And then we go through the process of releasing that. So that's what I'm interpreting you mean by feeling the feels. And my answer would be yes. The last part of this is you're saying to find connection that we want to connect with in real life. So yeah, I guess that's the other way we can talk about feeling the feels is, I said earlier, making it real. So when you're doing your manifesting practice, make it real. This would be visualizing. This would be hearing the sound of their voice. This would be hearing the sound of your voice and laughing. This would be feeling the really good feelings inside of your body of making this kind of connection. This would be the kinesthetic aspect of, for example, holding their hand or embracing them, or feeling the quality of their skin against your cheek. So yes, make it as real for yourself as possible. And I think this gets me thinking about acting. I used to be a professional actor. And this is what actors do. To make a character real on the stage, they are feeling the feels. They are wearing the clothes that character would wear. They are attempting to enter the universe, the world of that character, to feel what that character feels. Whether it's a murderous rage, or whether it's immense love, or anything in between. And the more that this actor places themselves into the inner world of that character and the outer world, the makeup and the hair and the costume, the more that character actually comes to life. And I believe that is what we're doing with manifesting, is that you're wanting to give birth to, you're wanting to breathe life into that which you desire, as though you already have it. Because to that part of your mind, it doesn't distinguish between, oh, I already have the Tesla Model S, or I'm sitting inside of that car and I can feel the leather steering wheel and I can feel the acceleration and I can notice how I feel inside of this vehicle, and I can create those feelings inside of my body. Any one of us can do that. You don't have to get the car before you have the feeling. We want you to have the feeling before you have the car. And the feeling will help you get the car in this example. All right. Thank you, Katie. All right, let's just take one or two more here. This one says, a humble messenger of the law. See the raw material, not human. Okay, I haven't looked into that, the raw material, but that's worth looking into, I suppose, for all of us here, or anybody that's interested. Elizabeth says, would you guide us through a manifestation process or recommend a specific existing recording? Yeah, so I can't guide you through the process right now because our time is almost up, but I have tracks on my YouTube channel, and there's one that I like to listen to, and it's called Manifesting Your Dream Life. And I have that recorded as both an audible recording, and this means that you just hear everything that's playing after you are guided through a hypnotic induction, and that's to open up your mind and make you more receptive to what's being spoken. I also have it as a subliminal version. That's my favorite one. And a subliminal just means, for those who don't know, it means, in this case, sub-audible. That the words, unlike on the audible track, the words are all there, but you cannot hear them consciously. There is a sound over it. In the case of this one, Manifesting Your Dream Life, it's just white noise. So when I sleep at night, my wife and I have a white noise machine that we play. A lot of people do this. It's sort of a soothing sound to have in the background that maybe masks any other noises and so on. Just underneath that white noise are all of the words that are on the audible track. What's super cool about this is that you can listen to it while you're sleeping. You don't have to carve out more time during your day. You can listen to it while you're sleeping because your subconscious mind never goes to sleep. It's always receiving. It's always receptive. And you could listen to it in the background while you're working. So if you were working at a computer all day long, you could have this playing in the background. And you're accomplishing your work. Your conscious mind is focused on your work, but in the background, your subconscious mind is just receiving this. It's just receiving it, receiving it, receiving it. You could have it playing while you're working out. You could have it playing while you're cleaning your house. You could even have it playing while you're watching a TV show. You could just have it tuned down lower so that all you hear is just a little bit in the background, some of that white noise. And those underlying words would be going into your deeper mind in this subliminal fashion. And some of my most popular videos on my channel are actually subliminal tracks. And what's so fascinating to me is to hear the feedback from people. So for some people, subliminal absolutely is the most powerful one for them. For other people, it's the audible version. But it really blows me away when the subliminal tracks are so successful for so many people, because you can't actually consciously hear the words. And it helps you to understand, it helps me to understand how powerfully we are influenced in a day-to-day basis by a myriad of communication methods and modalities. Just as an aside, Burger King, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, and Wendy's, they all use the same two colors in their logos. It's yellow and red. Is this just random, Or is it because color affects us? The color red causes us to be more impulsive, fast food. It can stimulate the appetite. We are also influenced by music that's playing in the background. So if you're in a boutique and you're shopping, like in a cool boutique, I forget what that store, Lululemon, they sell like the yoga pants, like the $150, $200 yoga pants. They have really cool music playing in the background and it's kind of loud. Well, why do they do that? They do that because it switches you from your conscious, logical, rational part of your brain, say it's your left brain, into your right part of your brain, which is the more creative, impulsive part of your brain. They don't want you thinking, oh, should I spend $200 on a pair of yoga pants? They want you like, wow, those are really cool yoga pants and I'm going to feel awesome when I have them on. That's why that music is playing. So we are being influenced all the time and we have no idea when we watch TV if there's subliminal influences that are happening, either subvisual or sub-audible, or even the use of frequencies. And I'm not going to go too far down that road right now, but to further answer your question, Elizabeth, the one I would recommend is manifesting your dream life. And I would experiment with the subliminal one, experiment with the audible one, see which one that you like better. You can always use the audible one maybe when you're awake, and when you're asleep, you could use the subliminal, for example. But that's the one I would recommend. Thanks for your question. All right, we'll take one more and then wish each other a wonderful weekend. So TNT says, wow, I'm going to keep working on myself and my thoughts and feelings. I'll keep returning to my 16-year-old self. I'm actually 71 years old. Well, we'll all be pulling for you, TNT. We'll all be pulling for you. Grace Kavanaugh says, my 3 most desires, and I ask you all to help with my prayers for my own home and career and tell hung husband. Okay. All right. Well, best wishes for you achieving your goals. And I said I was only going to do one more, but I love this. So Nikki, you'll be the last one. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. I imagine, I feel it, I write it down. My kids, especially my 6-year-olds, still don't listen. I'm doing something wrong. And then says, my boyfriend has arthritis. It's not a cure, but taking magnesium supplements help him a lot. There's a difference when he doesn't take them. So yeah, that's pretty cool for, I forget who was talking about arthritis before, but that might actually help with the other person. So thank you for that. Back to your first part. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. It sounds like you want your 6-year-old kids to listen to you and they're not listening to you. Is that correct? In no particular order. I have 3 kids. When they were little, what I used to do was, especially with my eldest, who when he was younger could be kind of mean to his sister, I would go into his room at night and I would sit next to his bed and I would just whisper while he was asleep. Because remember about subliminals, what I talked about is that it's your conscious mind that goes to sleep. Your subconscious mind is always awake. Your subconscious mind is always receiving. It never shuts off. That's why your heart doesn't shut off, or your lungs don't shut off, or your body's major systems don't shut off. Your subconscious mind is controlling your autonomic nervous system. So I would whisper in his ear and I would say things like, you love your sister. You love being kind to her. It actually makes you feel really good when you're super kind to your sister. It's so nice to do things for her because it makes you feel really, really good inside to be kind and loving and warm for your sister. You look out for your sister. You watch out for her. It feels really good to be concerned for her well-being. And the next day, and this is when he was maybe like 11, the next day I would watch him interacting with his sister, and you could see the difference, like that. Now that is more like formal hypnosis, working with the actual child, in the case of your children, rather than you trying to manifest what you're looking for. Now the other thing was that the school that our kids went to, the teachers would go into a state right before they went to sleep every night. And right before you go to sleep, you're kind of in a meditative state. You're probably in an alpha trance. And they would bring each one of the children in their class into their mind. And they would see, feel, and hear in their minds, in their mind, that child shining, that child growing, that child flourishing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is manifestation. And I would say, based upon what I was able to pick up, Nikki, what you were talking about, was that you might, if I got what you were saying correctly, you might experiment with both of these. Whisper into the ears of your children when they're sleeping that they love whatever. They are respectful, and they're kind, and they follow the rules in the household, or whatever that is. And then you can also, before you go to sleep at night, you can hold them all in your mind and imagine them behaving in appropriate, kind ways with each other, and listening, maybe better at listening. And the last thing I will say is that if we go back to that law of correspondence, as within, so without. Let's just say they're not listening to you, and I'm not sure if that's what you said. Yeah, you said the 6-year-old, especially my 6-year-old who still doesn't listen. As within, so without implies that if someone's not listening to you on the outside, then the first question I would ask myself is this just my 6-year-old? Or have I had this experience before with other people? Have I had the experience of romantic partners not listening to me? Have I had the experience of my boss or people who work for me not listening to me? Have I had the experience of friends not listening to me? Because if you have, then this is a law of correspondence. This is as within, so without. There's something going on inside of you that actually needs to change to release that block to manifesting what you want, which is your 6-year-old listening to you. So hopefully that makes sense. If anybody has any further follow-up questions, feel free to email me, peter@blueskyhypnosis.com. If some of you are interested in working with me, I do offer a free 20-minute Zoom call, and there's no obligation. You can sign up and work with me after that, or you can just say, it was great to chat with you for 20 minutes, but now I'm going to go on my way. And you can book that right through my website at blueskyhypnosis.com. Thank you so much to everyone who commented, everybody who showed up, everybody who asked questions. It really was a lot of fun. And we will see you at the next Live at 5. Make sure you stay tuned to the announcements that I send out for the next one. I'm thinking about doing, and maybe you guys can comment on this, I'm thinking about doing one on either weight loss or on forgiveness. That one is always controversial, but very rewarding. So have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you at the next Friday Live at 5.